This video is for the religious and the superstitious. Yes, I use those terms interchangeably. I regard anyone who considers themselves to be religious as superstitious, and I regard anyone who considers themselves to be superstitious as religious. Now, why? Well, because it's pretty simple, really. The superstitious religiously avoid doing certain things in order to avoid the consequence of whatever their superstition is, right? The religious hold superstitious beliefs. So, yes, if you're religious, you are superstitious. And if you're superstitious, you are religious. Now, I brush my teeth religiously. It's a ritual. But I don't do it because of some superstitious belief. I do it because I know if I don't, I'm going to get cavities eventually, and I might get cavities anyway. So you can see the difference between doing something because you're superstitious, or doing something because you know what the result is going to be. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, religious people do things because they're afraid of a superstition, right? They don't follow the Ten Commandments because, well, maybe they do follow the Ten Commandments because they think the commandments are good, which they are. But I think more people follow the Ten Commandments because they're afraid of a superstition. The idea that something bad is going to happen to them if they don't. And that's usually what motivates most people. Yeah. No, I'm not exactly a nihilist. I'm just a realist. Yeah, I don't attribute good to most people. No, in fact, I think what motivates most people is evil, not good. But that's neither here nor there. This video is to address the religious and superstitious on specific topics, such as the quote-unquote end times, or another specific topic, the mark of the beast. Now, in my lifetime, I've noticed something, and I've heard this idea out there before, and I'm not sure I agree with it, but you know, we'll find out eventually. I'll tell you the day before I die, or the minute before I know I'm going to die, I'll tell you what I think about it. But I've noticed that it appears that the more religious a person is, the less understanding they have of science and technology. That's just been my observation. And on the other hand, the better understanding a person has of science and technology, the less religious they are. Now, that does swing around, as every pendulum does, and goes back in the other direction. I have also heard the argument that those advanced scientists, physicists, astronomers, mathematicians, scienticians, not scienticians, you get the idea, that the more they discover, it is true that many of them claim that the better they understand their field, that the closer they get to God, or the more they feel a sense that there really is such a thing as a creator. Now, I'm not a scientist. I don't think there is such a thing as a creator, but who's to say that if I weren't a scientist, and that if I were proficient or an expert in my field, that I might not, through that process of discovery, come to the same conclusion? That's entirely possible. But I just want to point it out that in my experience, the more religious a person is, the less understanding they are of science and technology. And not that that stuff's easy to understand either. Some of it is, some of it isn't. It's easy for some people to grasp, not so easy for others. It wasn't so easy for me. Some concepts I can grasp easier than others. Now, when you're talking about the world of computers or IT, those are very loose terms, and they encompass an awful lot. So when you're talking about technology, as it relates to this topic of this video, there is something that equates to what's described in the Bible as the mark of the beast, or what's described by Christian clergy specifically as the end times. But here I want to address the mark of the beast. Now, it doesn't come up too often, but I do subscribe to a couple of YouTube channels. I'm not going to mention the channels. Pardon the interruption here. I do subscribe to a couple of YouTube channels that contain a lot of content that addresses reality, addresses issues that are going on in the world today from a good perspective, but then also throws in a superstitious or a religious element into them that doesn't really relate to what they're discussing. And they're trying to connect dots that aren't there. And in so doing, they're missing dots that really are there. So, one example I wanted to point out is that of the so-called mark of the beast. Now, what's the function of the mark of the beast as described in the Bible? Basically, it's to control, in so many words, everything you can buy and sell. This includes food, utilities, power, influence, anything and everything that you can buy and sell. Well, I get a lot, I run across some of these videos, the authors of whom seem to think that the mark of the beast has yet to arrive. And it's for that crowd that holds that opinion that I've got some really bad news. It's been here for quite a long time. It's known by many names, but the one you're probably going to recognize the easiest, it's called S.M.A.R.T Technology. Now, a lot of people don't even stop to think about what that means. But what is the acronym S.M.A.R.T? S-M-A-R-T, as it applies in the IT world, in reality. Okay, S.M.A.R.T stands for Self-Monitoring, Analysis, and Reporting Technology. I'll give you a minute to think about that. Self-monitoring, analysis, and reporting technology. Now, it's not too hard to imagine once you understand that concept, once you understand what those words mean and why they're in that order, why S.M.A.R.T Technology is your mark of the beast. You've already been marked, buddy. You've already been marked. S.M.A.R.T Technology isn't just your smartphone. It's the chip on your debit card. It's the watermark in electronic emails. It's the temperature gauge and on your refrigerator. It's the technology that enables your crock pot to figure out the volume of food in there and what temperature it can be cooked at in a set amount of time. It's the phones that are watches that also, the BitFit. That's S.M.A.R.T technology. All this technology around you that you use every day is self-monitoring, analytical, and reporting technology. So what does that mean? It means that the device that uses this software or this firmware or this technology self-monitors. Okay? It can tell when it's got a problem, a virus, a breakdown, whether it's software related or physically related. It monitors for that. It analyzes those problems, and it reports back. Now, the question is who, what does it report back to, when, where, and why does it report back to who and what? Well, I'll tell you, and that's pretty easy. Just understand your computer. It reports back to itself. It also reports back to the database that collects the information that's gathered through your operating system that's installed on the hardware and firmware that you sit behind and use every day. Microsoft, Intel, IBM. That's who has the information about whose computer broke down, whether it was a software-related issue, a physical-related issue. So-and-so's hard drive went out at such and such a time, GMT. Okay? And the issue was that it was just written over too many times and there were too many bad sectors and there went the hard drive. Okay? That's reported to Microsoft. I know, sounds crazy, right? Well, who wrote the operating system that's running the hardware that constitutes your computer or your smartphone? Duh. Okay. S.M.A.R.T Technology. You've already been marked. Adjust.